Warriors for Christ. Biblical, bold, speaking the truth while being uncompromising. The world is in a very dark place. Our job is to wake up the church and to fight back against the wickedness in the world. Our ministry believes in being effective versus relevant. We want to see lives changed and souls saved. Success is not measured in material wealth or possessions. Get ready for the truth from America's leading street ministry. This is Warriors for Christ. And here's your host, Rich Penkoski.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, before I start here, I want to check my audio because last time nobody told me that my audio was way off. So I just want to check that real quick and make sure we're good to go on that. Because like I said, nobody told me last time that the audio was off. Make sure we're good to go on that. Because like I said, nobody told me last time that the audio was off. Still sounds like it's not right. But anyway, so glad you guys are here. And let me switch. Let me try that there. See if that makes a difference. But if you guys hear anything, because, I have a couple microphones here. One of them in my camera. Obviously, that's the one that's terrible. We don't want that one. And then I have this microphone here. This is the one we want to use. So, but again, before I jump in, I want to make sure this audio is working. So, but again, before I jump in, I want to make sure this audio is okay. Sounds good. So, of course, you guys have heard by now that there is another leftist shot. And of course, the left is all, they're crying about it and whatnot. And there's some people on the right that are too, and they're all talking about, we shouldn't delight in the death of the wicked and all that. But let me tell you something. There's a difference between delighting in the death of the wicked and being relieved that a threat has been neutralized. Nowhere in the Bible also does it tell us to virtue signal and pretend like we actually care about somebody that most of us realistically don't care about. You can go on social media and talk about how sad it is, so tragic and things like that. But you and I both know you don't mean it. Okay, you don't mean it. And we're not required to shed a tear for somebody like that either, by the way. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that we have to shed a tear for that person. Because that person was a scumbag. And him dying doesn't make it any better. Okay? Doesn't mean that it's, that all of a sudden now he's a good person. And we don't go off of people's professions, right? Just because he was a nurse. So what? What does that mean? It means nothing. That doesn't absolve you of your responsibilities, and it doesn't absolve you of the things that you do in public and your behavior. It's like the thief out there that goes robbing a store with a gun. Well, he was a physician's assistant. Well, so what? What does that mean? Should we just let him off the hook then? Is that what that means? It's absolute lunacy that as Christians, we continually go out there and virtue signal to appease a bunch of people who, by the way, given any chance, if what's that movie called? If the Purge were legal, these people would all show up at our front doors with guns in hand. Most of you probably wouldn't have that happen because they have no idea you're a Christian because you hide your little light under a bush or keep it in a safe space. But for those of us who are out there, believe me, if it were legal and they'd get away with it, these people would come to our houses and annihilate our entire families. And you want me to go out there and pretend like I want to be buddies with these people, that somehow loving them means that I have to befriend them? What are you, out of your minds? And this is why our ministry exists. Our ministry is here to cut through all this bull crap. It's to cut through these lies. It's to even out that teeter-totter, if you will, of just love, and nothing else. Trying to give the correct definitions of what things mean not based upon the world's definition. We're not going, when these people go out there and say, love your neighbor, loving your neighbor means what? I mean, most Christians don't even know where Jesus is quoting that from. Most people don't even know what loving your neighbor means. Okay. So stop pandering to these retards. Okay. You're so concerned. And the bottom line is the reason why most people pander them is because you're afraid of them, because you want them not to cancel you. So in other words, just what you do is you pretend like you're the loving care because you want to be seen as loving on their terms, right? You want to be seen as caring on their terms. Can you get mine? You want to be seen, whatever. So you're doing it for self-preservation. You're not doing it to be holy. You're not doing it, to revere God. Be honest with yourselves. Do a little introspection, okay? Let's be real here. There's a lot of content creators out there that wear the mask of a Christian, but they're simply doing things to be edgy and be cool, and they simply want to make money. And look, good for you. You want to make money online? That's great. I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for, making money. But don't use God's name to do it. Be honest with yourself, okay? Be honest. Because tonight, I'm going to ask the question that most Christians are too comfortable or too afraid to answer. Who will actually stand? Right now, while the church talks big online, I am facing a legal battle in Florida over speech crimes because we chose restraint over righteousness. Yes. If you're tired of faith that costs nothing, I want you to stay here tonight. I want you to listen because we're going to open Psalm 94:16. And for some of you, it's going to get quite uncomfortable. Somebody says, why do you keep using the R word? Because I can and because I want to. No other explanation than that. And that's the reason why. Because I can and because I want to. And the word retard means foolish or stupid, and that's exactly what we're describing here. And I'm not going to curtail my language, or I'm not going to say things that are not offensive because I'm afraid of offending people. I don't care. Psalm 94:16 still hangs in the air like an unanswered summons. It says, who will stand with me against evildoers? Who will take his stand against those who do iniquity? Now, I asked that question. We read that verse, and every Christian out there is going to say, well, I will. And yet you look around and there's nobody standing anywhere except in the church with their hands in the air singing Kumbaya. But that's as far as most people take it. They're not standing with God against evildoers. Posting on Facebook is not standing against them. Because he asked the question twice, who will take his stand against those who do iniquity? That question exposes us more than it inspires us. Because most of us already know the honest answer. We like to think we're a threat to the kingdom of darkness. We say it, we post it, we preach it, but the truth is far more uncomfortable. The enemy is not confused by our talk. He's not intimidated by your language. He's not fooled by your online bravado. He knows most of us are all talk and no action. Now, before I go any further, I want you to understand something. This is not in any way, shape, or form a call to arms, if you will. To me, that is the last resort and only resort in self-defense. But the problem here is that if it ever, God forbid, gets to that point, it's going to be because Christians failed to act before it got to that point. Because we have done and do nothing. Be honest. Be honest with yourselves. I know it's hard. I know it's really hard for people to actually take a look in the mirror and realize maybe my apathy is what's causing all this. Maybe I should have stood up when they were coming after our kids. Maybe I should have stood up when they were murdering our children in the womb. Maybe I should have said something when the schools were teaching my kids to chop off their genitals. Maybe I should have said something when they're teaching our kids that they're nothing more than moral as brainless animals. Maybe you should have said something then. But instead it was more convenient to keep your mouth shut. It was more comfortable because it didn't cost you anything to keep your mouth shut. And what you've done instead was you've rebuked the men and women who are actually out there standing against evil, not just running their mouths on Facebook, right? Because here's the thing. When you actually tell people what the Bible says, somehow they try to twist and distort it to mean exactly the opposite of what it's actually saying. See, we have convinced ourselves that we are dangerous to evil, and not because our lives demonstrate it, but because our words do. And words without cost, they don't frighten darkness. They simply amuse it. And the church has developed a strange fantasy that hell trembles every time we type something bold on Facebook. Meanwhile, the enemy watches what actually happens when pressure is applied, and when he has learned a reliable pattern. Christians complain, Christians debate, Christians have conferences, Christians delay, Christians retreat. Then they spiritualize the retreat and they call it discernment. We are taught that if we lower our voices, things will simply calm down. If we avoid confrontation, evil will eventually expose itself and collapse under its own weight. If we just keep being nice, the system will correct itself. That has never been true, not in scripture, not in history. And you can try to look in the mirror and you can try to pat yourself in the back and you can try to convince yourself anything you want. But at the end of the day, you got to stand before God, just like I do, just like every person on the face of this earth has to do. And the truth is, most of you are going to be found wanting, because when you actually take a look at the way you live your life, you do absolutely nothing. I have traveled this entire United States. Okay. I've been almost every single state. I can't even tell you the hundreds of cities that I've been to over the course of the years. Drag queen story events, pride events, abortion clinics, all these things. And the one consistent thing I find is that the Christians, the churches, they don't show up. These things happen in your backyard and you do nothing. And you'll go online and bitch and complain about how it's happening in your neighborhood. Well, what did you expect when all you do is, I'm going to go on Facebook and cry about this? And then you go and rebuke the men and women who are actually coming to your city, trying to stop it, trying to protect your children. And then you want to go online and talk about how big and bad and bold you are, what you're going to do. You really think the enemy doesn't know you better than you know yourself? He doesn't go by your words. He goes by your inaction. Okay? Evil continues. And not because it's unstoppable. Evil continues because it's unopposed. And that is the central indictment of our moment right here, right now. You know, we all say we love Jesus. We say we would die for him. We say, I can't tell you many clips and reels and whatever they're called, of all these pastors saying they're sold out for Jesus. They've surrendered. They're radical. But when obedience threatens our comfort, our income, our reputation, our access, our platforms, our sense of normalcy, suddenly we discover balance. Suddenly we discover nuance. Suddenly we discover reasons why now is not the right time. You see, it's easy to pound up on the stage and act like a retard on stage. And yes, I mean that in its proper context. It's easy to do all that. It's easy to act like a tough guy. There's a difference between acting tough and actually being tough. There's a difference between acting surrendered and actually being surrendered. There's a huge difference there. But you see, today's pastors have comforted people in the pews, have come from with the lie that all you got to do is come to church, give your 10% tithe, and you are good to go. You're going to make it in heaven. It's basically Catholic light. Come to church, give us your money, and you're saved. That's what the Catholic Church taught, right? Give us your money, do what we say, and you'll go to heaven. Nothing's really changed, has it? Every person who says, I believe in Jesus, calls himself a follower of Christ. They believe they're right, and you're wrong. Even though if you look at the biblical pattern and you read the Bible itself, you'll see who's right and who's wrong. It's not that difficult. You see, Jesus never warned us about losing our comfort, did he? He warned us about fearing the wrong thing. He said plainly, do not fear the one who can kill the body, but fear him who could destroy both soul and body in hell. Yet we fear being canceled more than judgment. We fear social loss more than disobedience. We fear inconvenience more than compromise. And guess what? The enemy knows it. I can't tell you the amount of times I hear Christians tell me how sold out for Jesus they are, how much faith they really have. And then when push comes to shove, it's, well, you know, brother, I've got a job. I can't do these things. I've got a family to take care of. They've got every excuse. See, it's easy to say what you'll do in a situation when you don't actually have that situation to do it. It's another when the situation actually comes up. Then all of a sudden, that's when the excuses come out. I have faith in Jesus. Great, let's go preach. Oh, I can't. I got a job. You understand, right? And all of a sudden, I started getting this 10-minute explanation as to why this person can't, let me rephrase that, won't do anything. They're fearful while they claim that they're not fearful. They've convinced themselves that they're bold for Jesus, even though when it comes time to actually demonstrate or be bold, they show their cowardice and their excuses. And then if you dare call them on it, they will rail against you like you're the bad guy. It's insane. And the enemy knows it. You see, this is why evil advances so confidently. Evil has studied our behavior. Evil knows that most Christians and conservatives are not going to show up when it actually costs something. Why do you think cancel culture works so well? Because the enemy knows if you're threatened with any type of loss, you won't do anything. And you can look yourself in the mirror all you want. You can convince yourself of anything you want to try to convince yourself of. But the fact is, you convincing yourself of anything doesn't change the facts. The enemy knows us because he studied us. The enemy knows that you're not going to do anything when it actually costs you something. The enemy, and that's why you hate guys like me. You don't hate guys like me because we're making Christianity look bad. You hate guys like me because we're making you look bad. We're making you look bad because you look like an apathetic, weak little coward with your tail tucked between your legs, and you don't want that image. Instead, you want to be, I'm the loving one. I'm the bold one. I'm a prayer warrior. No, you're not. You're not. You're really no different than anybody else. See, evil knows we are deeply attached to our routines, to our safety, to our financial stability, our sense of control. See, evil knows that the threat of loss is usually enough to silence us. And it is, isn't it? Be honest with yourselves. See, instead, most people try to convince themselves the exact opposite. See, we're not outmatched, right? As Christians, conservatives in this country, we're not outmatched because there are more of them. That's just not the facts. We're outmatched because they show up. We don't. They fund what they believe in. They sacrifice sleep, money, comfort, reputation, and their safety. They stand out there in freezing temperatures. They endure ridicule. They endure backlash. They endure exposure because they believe the outcome is worth the cost. That's the enemy, mind you. That's not Christians. They're bold enough to show up on social media making videos, talking about celebrating, gloating in the death of children, police, conservatives. Why? Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? We watched Charlie Kirk get murdered in public in cold blood, and that wasn't enough to galvanize you to do anything other than post about how sad it was, how you're ready to stand up for what's right and true. I went to several days and I warned about apathy after this. I said 2 or 3 weeks from now, when the news cycle moves on, so are you. And that's exactly what happened. And the enemy knows it. I can see it. You don't think the enemy can see it? But these people show up because they believe what they're fighting for, and they're fighting for evil, but they believe evil is worth the cost. We don't believe that holiness, righteousness, Jesus Christ is worth the cost. Don't tell me you believe that Jesus is worth the cost because it doesn't cost you anything. You've convinced yourself that you're doing the right thing, but if what you're doing doesn't cost you anything, well, you know, I lost 5 minutes doom scrolling and I made a Facebook post. Oh no. And somebody called me a bad name on Facebook. What are you going to go to therapy for that? They show up. They fight. They'll stand there. They'll stand out there in minus 20 degrees. Meanwhile, Christians hesitate to even stand against obvious evil when it appears in your own neighborhoods. We don't confront child exploitation at school board meetings. We don't. We won't confront perversion in our libraries and our public parks. We won't confront corruption in our city governments and our court systems. We won't even support those who do, unless there's a clear, tangible net benefit for us personally, right? See, we say we're the light of the world, yet we hide the moment darkness pushes back. And this is why the line bears repeating, because it explains everything. Pay attention here. Conservatives still believe power respects restraint. Evil does not. Restraint only works when both sides recognize moral limits. We are long past that point, folks. Evil does not interpret restraint as virtue. It interprets restraint as weakness. Silence is consent. Delay is surrender. Scripture has never once, anywhere, no matter how many times you read, you're never going to find this. It has never honored standing by. Judges records that God cursed those who stayed home while others fought. Read the book of Judges. God curses people who stay home while other people fight. Let me guess. That's the Old Testament, right? That's the Old Testament. And by the way, he didn't do it because they joined the enemy. He did it because they refused to oppose the enemy. God did not call them neutral. He called them guilty. I want you to think about that. I want you to really let that sink in here. If God cursed people who stayed home back then, what makes you think he's not going to curse you today? What makes you think he's not going to call you guilty for not opposing the evil? And don't say you're opposing them when you do nothing. Okay? Sitting in church, getting all worked up because the pastor's talking about time to strap up your boots, get out there and do something. The church is it, the church is that. And yet you look at the churches and they don't do a damn thing. They do literally nothing but talk. See, those are people that have convinced themselves, right? They are hearers of the word. They are not doers. And again, the Bible warns us about that, but that's exactly what we see going on today. Jesus himself was not crucified because he was gentle. He was crucified because he confronted religious power. He exposed their hypocrisy and he refused to affirm lies. Matthew chapter 23 is not a misunderstanding of Jesus' tone. It is Jesus being obedient. And the early church understood this. They did not imagine themselves dangerous to Rome because of their words. They became dangerous because of their willingness to suffer, their willingness to lose things, their willingness to lose their very lives. They were arrested, they were beaten, they were fired, they were disowned, they were imprisoned, and they were killed. Now, today, when that happens to a Christian, well, if you were more Christ-like, that wouldn't happen to you. Think about that. Think about that. Today, if you get arrested, like I've been charged with a crime in Florida for speech, there are Christians who say, well, Rich, they justify that. Now that's God punishing you. For what? So did God punish all those people back then? Oh, no, there's a difference. Oh, yeah, what's that? What's the difference? Were they nice? Did they just sit there and complain at home and do nothing about it? No, of course not. The argument's ridiculous and fallacious. That's why, it's anyway. Early Christians arrested, beaten, fired, imprisoned, killed. When one fell, when one of their brethren fell, others stepped in. They paid the price together. They didn't watch from a distance and applaud courage while protecting their own safety. We, on the other hand, we have perfected spectator faith. We admire courage from afar. Sort of. We praise sacrifice as long as somebody else is making it. Again, sort of. We say someone should do something and then quietly hope that someone is not us. And then when somebody does something, you rebuke them for doing it that way. You criticize them for doing it the way they do it when you do absolutely nothing. And I want to read something again. And I want to give you a quote from the speech called "The Man in the Arena." And I say this is one of the, by Teddy Roosevelt. This is one of my favorite quotes here. It's not in the Bible, but it still applies. And this was sent to me by a brother in Louisiana when I went down there for the first time and stood against the drag queens, and he saw what was being done and what was being said about me for doing what I did. This is a famous speech. It's a quote by Teddy Roosevelt, and I want you to pay attention to this. It's called, "It is not the critic who counts. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." That is one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I think it describes us as a people perfectly. See, and earlier I said that sometimes we admire courage. So long as that courage isn't something, it doesn't remind us that we should do something. See, again, how are you going to criticize any man or woman for doing something when you do nothing? I mean, what balls do you have on you? Who do you think you are when you sit in the comfort of your home? You're not risking or losing anything. Nothing at all. And you think that that's what makes you right and everybody else wrong because the things we lose when we're out there standing against evil. And you wonder why evil grows bolder. See, the kingdom of darkness is not threatened by Christians who refuse to risk anything. It is threatened by Christians who accept loss as part of obedience. That is the dividing line. That always has been the dividing line. History doesn't change because people feel strongly about things. It changes because people act decisively. Okay? History changes because people act at a cost. Every moral collapse, every single one, you can see it, follows the same pattern. Evil pushes, good hesitates, institutions cave, laws invert, truth becomes criminal, and the righteous explain, analyze, and mourn what they refused to confront when it first appeared. It's textbook, and it's happening right under our noses. And this is not happening because Christians don't know any better. It's happening because we have chosen comfort over conviction, safety over obedience, reputation over righteousness. We talk about standing, but we don't stand. We talk about sacrifice, but we don't sacrifice. We talk about being a threat to evil, but our lives tell a completely different story. See, apathy, it's not caused by ignorance. Apathy is caused by comfort. People who are unthreatened can afford to be vague. People who are untested can afford to spiritualize their inaction. But Scripture never treats comfort as a virtue. It treats faithfulness as one. Now, Paul, he didn't tell Timothy that persecution might come if things go badly, did he? He said all who desire to live godly in Christ will be persecuted. He didn't say it might happen. And that's the key. If you're not persecuted, you're probably not living a godly life. And yet I find it's the Christian who criticizes persecution more than any other group out there. See, because evil will admit they're persecuting. They have no problem in it. They don't care. They glorify it. They make excuses and justifications for persecuting us. The Christians, on the other hand, They're the ones who see persecution and then blame God for doing it. Think about that. They're giving God credit for something the devil does. They're giving God credit, saying God is doing this. Because why? Because you don't do it that way, because you don't like so-and-so, and you think God is like your personal hitman, that God, whatever. That's blasphemy, my friend. Do you understand that? That is blasphemy. Calling good evil and evil good. Saying that that God is punishing good men and women because why? Punish. Really? And that when something bad happens to you, it's the devil, not God? That's blasphemy. But hey, what do I know? So this is not a warning for extremists, just to be clear here. That is a baseline expectation for believers, is what Paul was saying. So when Christians are shocked that obedience costs something, the issue is not persecution. The issue is preparation. See, history repeats the same lesson relentlessly. Societies don't collapse because evil is unstoppable. They collapse because good men decide it's not worth the cost to resist anymore. Evil always fills the vacuum left by cowardice every single time. And again, I know that some people may watch this and may say, it's not talking about me, and maybe I'm not. But take a look at yourself. Do you find yourself always finding excuses to justify why you haven't done really anything about anything? Have you convinced yourself that simply writing a couple paragraphs a couple times a week on Facebook are enough? Because they're not. I mean, seriously, Facebook controls the narrative, and your fight is on a platform that hates God, and you think that you're doing something. Really? Really? Come on. Let's be real. This is the pattern. Okay? This is the part that should embarrass us. That is, if you have any shame left. Evil advances not because it's stronger, it's because we retreat. We let it. That's the pattern every time. We like to tell ourselves a different story, of course. We post if we're the dominant force. We talk like lions online. We mock the left as weak, effeminate, ridiculous, unserious. We call them soy boys. We roll our eyes. We act like they're the fragile ones. But then we let them show up. We let them show us up. Giants who never stand up are not giants. They are simply furniture. The enemy is not confused by our memes. He is not impressed by our sarcasm. He is not intimidated by our comment sections. He measures strength the way strength has always been measured. Who shows up? Who sacrifices? Who absorbs loss and keeps moving forward? And right now, they're showing us up repeatedly. And this is something I know very well because lawmakers all across this country told me our side doesn't show up. They just don't show up. The enemy shows up, but our side doesn't. We don't show up. So our politicians, our lawmakers, the people who seek election and power, who are they going to listen to? You? Or the people that show up? I can tell you right now, it's the people that show up. See, the enemy will stand, like I said, in freezing temperatures. We stay home. They fund what they believe in. Can we argue about whether it's wise to give or not? They endure backlash, and we panic about optics. They accept being hated, and we fear being unfollowed. Then we still have the nerve to call them weak. The left wins because they show up. Christians lose because we spectate. And here is the truth that makes it even worse. You see, they know, the they-thems, they know conservatives, Christians, they're not going to do anything. No matter how much you bloviate online or how much you talk tough online, they know you're not going to do anything. They know you'll complain. They know you're going to post. They know that you'll threaten action, even if it keeps going. And they know that when the cost becomes real, most people are simply going to fold. They're not afraid of Christians who talk about strength but retreat at the first sign of loss. They're not afraid of churches full of people who sing about surrender but refuse to give up comfort. They're not afraid of believers who claim authority in Christ but won't risk inconvenience to exercise that same authority. I know. I just watched a reel today about a pastor talking about how much authority he has in his church, how much authority they have. Meanwhile, in his backyard, there's an abortion clinic there, drag queens there all the time, several times a year. Within a 20-mile radius of his church, there are drag queens, pervert events, pride events, all that stuff happening, and he has done nothing about it whatsoever. But he's got authority, man. That church has authority. Meanwhile, evil literally has surrounded that church, and he's done nothing but make a spectacle of himself on stage, convincing ye of authority while evil encroaches on your very ground. Give me a freaking break. Evil advances because it's learned our habits. See, the evil knows we retreat when pressure rises, knows we rationalize cowardice as prudence, knows we'll wait for someone else to lead, knows we will criticize action from a distance instead of joining it. That knowledge is power. And this is why restraint keeps failing. This is why appeasement keeps backfiring. And this is why silence keeps being interpreted as surrender, because it is surrender. We keep telling ourselves that if we just hold the line quietly, things will eventually stabilize. But evil doesn't stabilize. It expands. It fills every vacuum left by fear and hesitation. It takes territory. It normalizes itself, and it dares anyone to push back. And most of the time, nobody does. See, people keep asking, how did Minneapolis, Minnesota become this way? How did Minnesota get this way? Because you let it get this way. That's why. Because this didn't happen overnight. This was a series of events. It's not like you didn't recognize things happening. You just chose to ignore it. It's not really that big a deal now. It's getting worse, but it's still not that bad. Now look where we are. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You'll stand down and watch and go on Facebook, talk about how this is disgusting, how horrible this is, what a shame this is. Look what they're doing in this beautiful state of Minnesota. That's all you're going to do about it. So how did it get that way? You know exactly how it got that way. You just ignored it. And now look what's happening because of you, Christian conservative, Mr. Big Talk, Big Lion, peacocking all over social media. And yet you call these people all these names, soy boy and everything else, and yet they're the ones doing it. You're not. They're showing you up. We got all the guns. We'll do this. We'll do that. Blah, 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 blah. Then why aren't you doing it? Well, let me rephrase that. I don't want to be accused of calling for violence because I'm not. But you talk all the smack, but these little soy boys as you call them out there, these little effeminate cucks as you call them, these drag queens, they're making you look like the soy boy effeminate one. They're making you look like that. Huh? How about that? We live in I'll get to that at the end here. We keep telling ourselves, hold the line, it'll go away. Not going to work. We say, we're stronger, yet we let them outwork us. We say we're braver, yet we let them outlast us. We say we have the truth, yet we refuse to defend it at any cost. Strength that never acts, guess what? It's not strength. Courage that never risks isn't courage. And faith that never costs is not faith. And now we get to the part that nobody wants to admit because it exposes how complicit our passivity really has become. We're not just retreating from the fight. By retreating, we are enabling the enemy to write the rules of the fight. We are supporting Sharia law in this country because of our inaction. This is not hyperbole. This is not, this is not drama. This is a legal reality. And I bring this up because never in the history of our country would this ever have been thinkable until today, because the enemy has gotten that bold. When Christians refuse to stand, we're not neutral. We are funding evil by default, no matter how much you want to tell yourself otherwise. We are legitimizing evil by our silence. And no, I'm not being silent. What are you talking about? I make reels and TikToks and things like that. Oh my gosh, you think anybody cares about that? You think your TikTok, whatever reels, you think that translates into real life? Look, I've got a huge following on Instagram. I got millions of people. You know what that means? Jack squat. It means nothing. It's just people watching videos. It has not translated into action. Social media stuff is not translating into real life. Why do you think these leftist retards, they're organizing and whatnot, doesn't happen on social media? They've got groups outside of it. They are not stupid. They know those platforms, how they work. We're the stupid ones. We're allowing this to happen. We're legitimizing evil. We're allowing evil to write laws, set precedent that's going to reshape our culture. And we're not even resisting. And I'm going to say this now again and again and again, knowing that nothing is going to change. Because I've given this type of message for years. While the drag queens when the drag queens here, they first started, I was out there. Go back and look at the news. I was all over this country. Almost every time they had one somewhere, I was there. I've lost all my money because of it, giving it to other Christians, but it doesn't matter. It's a cost. I had to do it. I had to. Believe me, I could have said, no way. Kept all my money, given it, had for my kid, whatever. I could have done that, but I didn't. Go back and look, though. I was rejected by churches because they didn't like the way I did it. They didn't like us going out there calling them perverts and child groomers and pedophiles. They didn't like that. That's what they are. You cared more about your tone than you were the fact that these people are raping children. They were twerking in front of your kids in public streets, simulating anal sex on floats and making children. And you're, I don't like your tone. Well, I don't like the fact that two grown men are, engaging in simulated anal intercourse in front of children. Screw tone when you see that stuff going on. And Utah, you had people sitting there. They might as well have been having sex. Two women sitting there smacking their vaginas together right in front of children as parents with woo-hooing and hollering and everything else. But you're worried about tone. Meanwhile, children are had their arms and their legs being ripped apart inside their mother's wombs, their heads being crushed into their brains that leak out of mommy's vagina. But you don't want to call her a murderer. You don't think she deserves a death penalty. I do. I believe every woman who has an abortion, I believe every doctor woman should be given the death penalty. And so should you, because those are human beings. And if you kill a human being, the penalty should be death. That is a baby. That is a human being. That baby has just as much as right to life as you and me and everybody else. Don't call her that. You're going to hurt her feelings if you call her murderer. What would you call her? What, am I supposed to give her a great big hug and say, please, pretty please don't do that? Stop. Just stop. Okay? I'm going to talk about my situation in Florida because it's important, and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. I'm going to talk about it again and again and again because it's that important. The Florida case I'm dealing with right now, they charged me with 2 crimes: disorderly conduct and interrupting a religious assembly. Now, of course, I've seen some Christians celebrating that, saying, well, you did this, you did that. What did I do? Please. My video is there. Please enlighten me. What did I do that's a crime? Eat bacon in front of the Muslims on a public right-of-way in a public parking garage? Public, which means everybody's allowed to use. The Muslims can stand there and pray. No one said they can't. No one said they can't meet up there. They can do. They have just as much a right to that street, that park garage, as I do. So are you saying that it's disorderly conduct to go in a public space that they're at and rebuke them and preach them and mock their pedo prophet? Is that a crime? Last I checked, it's not, because that's all we did. Literally, that's all we did. I called Muhammad a scumbag. I said that they were terrorists. I said Muhammad was a power bottom, because he was. I said they need Jesus, and I ate bacon in front of them. And for that, I was charged with crime. By a conservative, by a Republican, a religious Republican, no less. This case made the news everywhere. everywhere. On X, over 1 billion people read the story or at least saw the video. Over 1 billion people or views, whatever. The entire country was talking about this as Christians got charged with crimes for speech. Not violence, not threats, speech. That's it. The Muslims gave their narrative, said that these guys were stomping around our heads with boots on while we're in the prone position, the bowing position. No, we weren't. My video, I have 2 angles, literally shows that when they were bowing, there was not a single person near them. Not myself, not Chris, not Ricardo. Nobody was near them. They flat out lied. And they did that because they know they can. And they'll get, and you know, look what happened. The conservative Christian state attorney catered to them, not the billions of conservatives that were pissed off at this, because the enemy knows we're not going to do anything. And I'm going to show you how in a second here. So no threats, speech. Almost everybody that saw this story, everyone, you're talking big name, David Harris Jr., Donald Trump, the election pay, all these things. Ron DeSantis was tagged like 200,000 times. Even people who don't necessarily like what we did, they agreed that what we did is not illegal, and this is an attempt to create a blasphemy law. Because the enemy shows up, right? The enemy knows if they win this, then Muslims are going to go out in public, everyone just start praying, and you can't do anything about it because then you'll go to jail. You get charged with a crime. That's how important this case, you don't think it is because it doesn't happen to you, but this is how important this is. And yet, with all of that, with all of those views, all of the narrative, all the people talking about it, we are still woefully underfunded. I personally am short by $2,000 to finish paying for all this, and I just don't have it. So what does that mean? If I can't pay for my lawyer, that means that Florida will have a blasphemy law on the books. It means that precedent still will exist. It means the next time Muslims claim offense and demand enforcement, the state will already have the pathway. It means that speech crimes will be normalized in a state that claims to be conservative. It means that the enemy will be emboldened because he watches what happens when Christians are pressured. Nobody came to our aid. I don't have a rich family. See, the enemy sees we retreat. We wring our hands, we talk, and do nothing. And let's be honest about the consequences here. These precedences will never be used to defend a Christian, will they? They're only ever going to go one way. Everybody knows that. The government knows it. Activists know it. Islamists know it. Because everybody knows Christians won't mobilize to enforce anything. It will only ever be used to punish Christians. That's how this works. And that's how lawlessness works. It does not apply evenly. It applies strategically. And you know what makes, like I said, what makes this even more vile is that the Ron DeSantis appointee, a woman who publicly, again, professes Christianity and conservatism, she's the one who made the decision to press charges and then publicly defended it. We're not punishing speech, we're punishing conduct. What conduct? We targeted a Muslim group? Yes, if you're going there to preach to somebody, they are specifically a target of that. We didn't go into a mosque. We didn't go into a building. We went outside in a public parking garage where they weren't even allowed to be in to begin with. They violated campus policies to be there. And the state, they're well aware of that fact. They just don't care because they see a group of Christians out there. They waited till the hoopla died down and then they charged us. Because they know at this point, we're not going to get funding. It's not going to happen. I've called for it several times. I got barely anything. Especially since this started. No one's helping me. And yet, this is a law that will create precedent. And yet, Christians, conservatives, whatever. Can't trust anybody. And the reason she's doing this is because she fears a group of terrorists more than she fears God. Because CARE and them have been declared a terrorist organization. And they're the ones who push for this. So even after the conservative backlash, even after DeSantis was tagged over 200,000 times on X, even after the national outrage, this was still allowed to happen. And we still wonder why America is going down the toilet. Really? We act surprised that lawlessness grows even when conservative Christians in power won't stand. won't hold the line, and will not fear God more than mobs. We act confused that the culture collapses when the church will not sacrifice. And the politicians we thought were on our side are terrified of backlash. This is not complicated. It's not mysterious. Evil advances because Christians retreat. We talk about standing, but we don't actually stand. We talk about sacrifice, but we don't sacrifice. We talk about being a threat to evil, but our lives tell a very different story. We say we love Jesus and we do anything for him, but we aren't willing to give up any comfort to stop evil. Jesus warned us about this. He did not say fear losing your status. He said fear God. Do not fear those who can kill the body, but fear him who could destroy both soul and body in hell. Yet we fear being canceled more than we fear disobedience. We fear losing things more than we fear losing integrity. We fear public shame more than we fear divine judgment. Psalm 94, it doesn't ask who will stand near God. It asks who will stand with God. Standing with God, well, it's never been symbolic. It has always been costly. So the question really remains unanswered and unavoidable. Who will stand with him against evildoers? Not who's going to comment, not who's going to agree, not who's going to, what? I hear barking. Are they?
Yeah.
The new one?
No, that's like an old small one.
They like it. They're comfy. I heard that. Was that a hiss? What is that?
There's all kinds of ones.
I hear that. Oh. Back off, lady.
Snack lady to bring snacks.
So again, who will stand when standing costs comfort, money, status, and safety? Because he already knows the truth we keep denying. It only stops when it's confronted. And until Christians are willing to give up something real, evil will continue unabated, unchallenged, and unafraid. History will not ask how loudly you spoke or how many Facebook posts you made or how many Facebook reels you made. It's going to ask, what were you actually willing to lose? And the truth is, most of you aren't willing to lose anything. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight for this one. Beat this Florida case like a drum because I cannot allow this to happen. Okay. We need every Christian should be like, whoa. But here's the thing about it. See, all those views, and look, everybody knew about it. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about this thing. And the only amount of rate we raised on Go Gifts and Go was like what? I think $700 at the fees and something, whatever it is. I mean, I know they're trying to stop it because of the hate crime designation. Yet I've been saying for weeks now, hey, we need more money to pay for this. The lawyers aren't cheap. They're not free. I mean, shoot, go look at what's his name, Dan Brown, just to get the attorney. And I'm not going to talk about I'm just going to tell you what I need more of, but just to hire the guy was $4,500. I mean, we're making motion. I can't actually, I'm not going to talk about what we're doing, but we need to, I need everybody watching this. I need everybody to put in so I can take care of this and get this done, because I believe with a lawyer's help, with the lawyer we have especially, we can get this done. Okay, I've got Enrique Torres. I'm going to be on with him on Wednesday night, Wednesday during the day at 2:00 Eastern time on X. You guys don't want to miss that. If you can join me on there. If not, I'll ask if I can replay it later. He's the guy who was sentenced to 22 years in prison, who Donald Trump Donald Trump pardoned, even though he was never in D.C. during January 6th. But regardless, his exact words were, I want to help. He's not rich. I mean, he lost everything when he went to jail. But he says, I want to help and do what I can. And how many of you would criticize Enrique? How many of you criticize Jake Lang? How many of you criticize that guy? I don't like Jay Lang. I'm not going to work with Jay Lang. What makes you think he's going to work with you? What makes you think the guy has any interest in you at all? He probably doesn't even know you are, and he doesn't care who you are. That's a guy who showed up and almost got killed. Meanwhile, the other patriots were ordered to stand down. They were willing to let one of their own get murdered because why? Why? Because they were afraid. They were, he almost lost his life in America. Say what you want about it, but he didn't even throw a punch back. He took it. 13 staples, hitting everything. That they were ordered to stand down when they're, it's crazy. So if you got something out of this video tonight, I'm going to ask you if you would to share the video, because as you could see, YouTube had an algorithm update in December and it has killed conservative Christian channels. It has absolutely killed our channels because the algorithm now doesn't favor things that make people feel bad, is what I was told the update does. It's all about it plays in people's emotions. So it wants uplifting content, things like that. So it's even worse than it was before. So our only recourse is, number one, to get off the platform and other platforms. Now, I am on Rumble, but again, Rumble's a tough nut to crack because unless you're like a diehard, like MAGA guy person, which, I am a MAGA person, but I'm not like a cultic about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to, I'm not going to go insane, about it. I support it, but at the end of the day, Jesus is first and foremost in my life. It's Jesus first, America second. That's how it goes. So I do have it there. But again, unless you're like that, it's really hard to get anywhere on there because, street preachers aren't thing on Rumble, right? It's usually political commentary, things like that. I'm one of the only few that are on there doing this. So again, if we have Rumble there, follow us on Rumble. It's Warriors, the number 4 Christ, because like I said, this one's bad. And at some point I'd like to just migrate there completely and be done with YouTube at all. Completely. I mean, Facebook does not recommend my profile. It seems like every one of us got hit with that one last month as well. I still have it there. I'm still posting on there. I still got over 1 million views, even without being recommended, which is pretty good, but it's dropping. But my Facebook profile is Richard W. Penkoski Jr. You'll notice I'm standing there with the yellow shirt on. It says, drunks will burn in hell. So, give me a follow on there. Send me a friend request on there if you're on Facebook. I also have an X account, which is at WFC Preacher. Instagram is where I'm more active than anything. And my Instagram is Warriors for Christ USA. I have a new TikTok, but I'm not really posting on there much. I just don't care anymore about TikTok. But it's also Warriors for Christ USA. So make sure you follow these platforms. But more importantly than that, because the platforms, we have to be less platform dependent. So that's where we have our website, warriorsforchrist.us. Bookmark the site. Now, again, I have been sick with the flu, so I haven't done anything to it, but sign up for the newsletter. I promise as soon as I get to 50 or 100 people, I'll start sending them out on a weekly basis. I'm going to start really writing again. I got Christian Journal, place marker right now for Christian Journal, getting ready to put that back up as well. But we're going to start doing that. I got to work on the back end of Warriors for Christ for our education segment, which is going to be more just completely Bible-based, Bible instruction, one-on-one, not one-on-one, but interactive, study guides, things like that. So there's a lot of work I have to do on top of dealing with this case in Florida. So I need all the help I can get, but we have to stop being so platform dependent on things, because if your ministry is dependent on Facebook or YouTube, you don't have much of ministry at all. Look, I have been heavily shadow banned since 2020, something like that. And yet I'm still here. I'm still everywhere. People talk to me all the time, and it's not my own stuff either, because social media is not the real world. It's what we do in life. It's what we do in the real world. That's what matters. That's what makes the difference. So we have to stop being so dependent on these platforms that hate us and they hate God. So warriorsforchrist.us. You go on the homepage right there. You click on there, join it. They put your email address down. You're on the newsletter. I have your information. We can send it out there because at some point we're going to get an app going. You're going to get notified when we go live versus relying on YouTube to do it. Things like that. So that's what it's there for. Again, I got about 20 people on there so far. The one or two times I pushed out the newsletter, But like I said, I want to get to 50 to 100 to start utilizing and making it worth it, because that kind of thing. So again, wordsforchrist.us, go right on there on the front page. You'll see we can go to newsletter. You see the members area. Don't do that yet because I don't have it set up yet. And unless you want to do it, you can, feel free. It's only like $10 a month, but there's nothing there yet. You can do it if you want to help with the ministry, but there's nothing there yet. But there will be. Just give it some time. If you want to help support our ministry and help with that fight in Florida, you could do so on the website, warriorsforchrist.us/give. You also have, all the other links to PayPal and all that are on there as well. We have Venmo, which is at Warriors for Christ Ministry. We have CashApp, $WFC Church. We have Zelle, support@christianjournal.net, which again, that will be back up in the next couple of months. There's a placeholder for it now. Renewed the domain name, all that stuff there. So we have PayPal, paypal.me/XTRIAN Journal Media. So we have all of that there. And ultimately, all those destinations are on warriorsforchrist.us/give. Now, again, I've asked for this a couple of times. But like I said, we really need help with this, because this is one of these moments that will create a precedent. It will absolutely create a precedent. It will create a Sharia style precedent in Florida. Okay. And this can't, for speech. Okay. If you want to believe the Muslim narrative that we stomped on their heads and all that stuff, go right ahead. My live video that I streamed that's 10 minutes long is on my YouTube channel, which shows that literally never happened. Never happened. So, if you want to believe lies, be my guest. But you know what? You're going to be the one that stands accountable to God for one day for giving your ears to lies, especially when the truth is right there. And when you do nothing, especially now that you're hearing this, if you do nothing on this and allow this to happen, again, read Judges. God cursed those who stood back while others fought. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you don't like what I have to say, you don't have to follow. It is what it is. You're not the kind of person looking for anyway if this offends you. But we're going to continue fighting regardless. I'm willing to bear the cost. My family is willing to incur the cost if anything bad happens to me. Because Jesus is worth more than all of it. I can stand before God and say, I did everything I could, Lord, to stand with you against evil, not near you, not by you, not, from Facebook or from a distance. I stood there with you against it. And if my brothers and sisters aren't going to help me fight it, then that's on them. So again, if you'll help us with this, we would greatly appreciate it. It would help tremendously so we can get this stuff done. And the lawyer said, if it goes to trial, it's going to be even more on top of that. So, but you're talking months and months down the road. Right now, we want to get all this stuff done, finish paying him, be done with that. So that's one thing to worry about. And he can just go do what he's got to do, and we can take care of the rest. He can take care of the rest. So again, also remember, don't be so platform dependent. Join us, warriorsforchrist.us. Put your name down on the newsletter list. So we have that. We can let you know we're going to live. It's also going to be sent text message, but I might take the text message feature off because it's really expensive to do that. It's the most effective way to get things out there, but we'll see. But anyway, again, thank you for showing up with us tonight. I really appreciate you all. And again, please, if you know somebody that can get something out of this message, or they need to hear it or understand, share it with them. Help them understand that just simply posting on Facebook is not standing against evil. Okay? It's not, no matter how much you want to convince yourself. I do appreciate all those people who follow us and pray for us, things like that. And as far as the storm goes here, we didn't get it that bad. We got enough snow for my kids to go out and play in it and have some fun. We didn't lose power. Our heat was fine, which amazes me because it was like 1 degree outside. All our animals are fine. They all have water. They're all fed. They all inside their building. We were fine. Again, we didn't even lose power. Praise God for that. It was cold out, but to be honest, I went out in the cold yesterday. Amanda and I went out there to go put the llama inside, and I'm like, this doesn't feel really that bad. I mean, this is the kind of winter I remember from being up north. It wasn't that bad. So I was like, yeah, this is nothing. It was cold. I'm not gonna pretend like it wasn't, but it wasn't as bad as like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. But no, we're perfectly fine here. As a matter of fact, most of the snow we got was from the drifts that come, because whenever things drift, it always comes over my way, comes over to, comes over to my house. But again, my kids loved it. They put their snow pants on today. They went out there with their gloves and everything else, and they had a blast. They loved it. They've been watching it. Is there snow yet? Is there snow yet? Can we go and play? Can we go and play? So they really did enjoy. Hear that? That's a sugar glider. So they really did it. And even then, we all had the flu last week. Every one of us, except for my wife and Brielle. Those two, I don't know how they avoided getting it, but they did not get it. Now, I was sick. And then by day 3, I had a cough, but that was the worst of it for me, was the cough. But that Tamiflu, oh my gosh, that Tamiflu stuff, if you're against medicine, hey, God bless you for it. But let me tell you something, you get the flu, I promise you want to take Tamiflu. It takes a lot of the, I don't know how to say it other than the nasty part of the flu, and just makes it a lot less. Like I had the flu last year for the first time in my life, and I had the body aches. I was miserable with it. I felt like horrible. This year I got it. I was diagnosed at flu A within 24 hours. I started taking Tamiflu when I first had symptoms. Bam, by day. Look at me. It's been a week. I feel fine. Even the cough, I still have a little bit, but not much. So that stuff works great, but everybody's over it now. Kids are all playing. Amanda I don't know how she didn't get sick with all the kids. I don't know how. I know. That's what I said. You and Brielle didn't. I don't know how.
Because we wash our hands.
That doesn't negate droplets in the air and stuff. Kids sneezing and coughing and. Well, yes, but you still got it in the air. But still, they didn't get it. Everybody's pretty much over it now. There's no school tomorrow because actually I don't. Were the roads bad when we went out there?
Some of them. Yeah.
Oh, really?
We went into town and they were still completely covered.
Like the side roads and stuff.
Junior high wasn't even plowed out.
Oh, what about the main road here? Oh, really?
Drive on it, but there was snow in the middle.
Would Brielle's car drive on it?
Some parts.
Some parts? Oh, yes, and praise God for that. Brielle got her license. After all the work Amanda did teaching her to drive, she finally got her license. Miss Jim says, look out. And Julie started driving. Julie's starting to drive too now, just so you guys know. Julie got her permit. She's driving now too. These kids are growing up too fast on us. But anyway, thank you again. Appreciate it. Again, make sure if you're on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@warsforchrist official. Also official street preachers. Now, official street preachers is monetized. It's not much. Maybe I think we made a whopping $150 all year last year on it. That's it. Or $222 all year. That's it for a year. Okay, that's not even $20 a month. But if you want to give super chats, super stickers, stuff like that, that you can do that on there if you want. It helps. We don't see that for another month or so, but it's there and it does help. Or you can go on our website, worsforchrist.us/give. If you want to use PayPal, Venmo, they're all there as well. Actually, I've never done this before, but let me check this. I've never actually done the screen sharing here before. Let's see how this works on this. I click that. So let's share screen. Okay, so right here. Okay. So you guys see here, this is that's the website there. Let me get rid of this banner here so you guys can see the banner. So this is what I've been building this out myself. Okay. But if you go right here, you'll see right here, get updates without censorship. You click that button. That'll take you to here. Okay. And you sign up here. I got to fix this form, but I'll fix that tonight. But that's where you put your information in here. But like I said, we're working on all the stuff here. Members area, again, it's not finished yet, so don't do anything yet. But, this is where the members area will be. If you want to become a member, this is what that page looks like. But again, it's not finished yet. And here's the donate page here. Okay. So you can do your credit card here, all throughout here. And then you can do PayPal, CashApp, Venmo, and Zelle. It's all right here. So this is what I've been building out, working on. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's what I've been trying to do. So it's all there. and whatnot. So we appreciate the support. We appreciate any help you guys can give us on this. God bless you guys. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Again, Florida case precedent. Help us out. Subscribe to the channel. Join the website newsletter. And have a blessed week.
I'm still here, and I'm hurting, trying hard just to stand again. All these scars that I keep hiding burn like fire beneath my skin. In the silence I am falling, still you pull me back. And when I'm losing hope, you hold the shattered pieces of my soul. 'Cause I'm broken, but you're healing every part of me I wasted. Yeah, I'm open to the mercy that you gave the day I strayed. And when I'm hopeless, you remind me I'm not lost, I'm not forsaken. I'm broken, but in your hands I'm being remade. I've been running from forgiveness, trying hard just to numb the pain. And all the wreckage that surrounds me shows the cost of my foolish ways. But you're near me in the darkness, calling out my name again. And when I'm losing hope, you hold the shattered pieces of my but you're healing every part of me I wasted. Yeah, I'm